Okay. Hey, hi. So may I know how many years of experience you are holding?
5.5.
5.5. Okay. Can you just brief yourself?
Yes. What's your good name? Then Spring Boot, Microservices, REST API, and for the test cases we are using JUnit with Mockito framework.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll begin with the core Java first.
Yes,
So
sure.
can you just
Just give me a second. विशाल आवाज कम कर.
yeah. Okay. So can you just tell me like what is the contract between a equals and hash code method?
So actually there is a contract between both these methods, and both these methods are present in the object class. So the contract is like two different objects can have the same hash code, but if the two objects are equal, in that case both the objects should return the same hash code only.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So can two objects have a same hash code?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So what is the need of this hash code basically? What it is representing?
So hash code just matlab hash code in the end we use the hash code value to get the index value so that it can be get stored in the hash map based on the
Mm-hmm.
index value.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Basically it represents the integer value of an object, we can
Mm-hmm.
say.
So have you ever overridden this equals and a hash code method in your project?
Yes. But whenever we are trying to, we are using hash map, and
Mm-hmm.
we have to provide our own implementation. So in that case, we have to override equals and hash code method
Mm-hmm.
to
Own
provide the better
implementation as
performance.
a key, right?
Sorry,
As a key, you must be using it.
correct. Yes, that is a key. Correct.
Okay. Okay. So why we need to override this one?
Which one? Both.
Why we need to
Sorry.
override the equals and hash code method?
So just to provide the better performance of the map, basically. Because if we are
Mm,
not providing it and if we are going with a default implementation, so there might be the case like the map will not work as per the expectations.
mm-hmm. So
So
what all
because we
collections you have worked on?
it depends on the requirement, but I have knowledge or about all the collections like array list, linked list, map,
Mm-hmm.
hash map, linked hash map, and then in set, hash set,
Mm-hmm.
tree map,
Okay.
and even with the thread set also.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when will you prefer to go for the array list or list, or when will you prefer the link list?
Okay, so if my requirement is like we have to fetch the elements, the operation is fetching the elements more as compared to insert or deleting. So
Mm-hmm.
in that case, I will prefer the array list, because array list uses index to fetch the element. Whereas if my requirement is like the more frequent operations are addition or deletion of elements, then I will prefer linked list, because linked list provides better performance in this case.
Okay. And when will you prefer to use the set?
So when we want unique elements to add, we don't
And
want any duplicate elements to get added.
mm-hmm. So how internally set is working? Like how it is maintaining a uniqueness?
Yes, so actually if we go with the internal implementation of set, so internally it uses the hash map. So hash map stores the elements based on the key and value pair, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So whichever the element that we have specified in the hash set, so that element will be acting as a key in the map, and in the value new object will be get created.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go with the add method in the hash set, so if you check, like add method returns a boolean value, true and false. If the boolean value returns true, so in that case the method will not be the element will not be added, because the element is already present in the hash map.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. What all OOPS concepts you are aware about?
I'm aware about all those concepts like
Mm-hmm.
inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation,
Okay. So
interface,
what is
abstraction.
composition?
So composition used to uh, uh, depict the association or depict the relationship between the entities or objects,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and composition represents is a relationship, and basically
Is a
both the entities of
relationship or has a relationship?
I think aggregation supports matlab, defines as a relationship.
You can
And
take your
where
time, no problem.
okay, and where there is one more thing, like in composition both the object or entities cannot survive independent of each other. Both are tightly coupled or tightly dependent on each other.
Okay. So can you just give me some background about the encapsulation?
Yes, encapsulation means wrapping of a data into a single unit.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go with the basic example, so the Java Bean class or the Java Pojo class can be considered as matlab, is an example of encapsulation. So in which we have created a private fields, and we have provided the getters and setters method to access those matlab fields.
Okay.
And
So it is so we are wrapping code and data together in is called a encapsulation for there should not be outside interference, so that's why. So if we are providing a setter method, okay, so we are giving it as a access to outer world, right? So isn't it a violation?
no, it is not a violation because the direct accessible to the fields is not provided, because we have made the fields as private. So
Mm-hmm.
direct accessible will not be provided. Yes, if we want to set the value, so we have to use a particular method to set the value of that of the field in that class, particular class.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So have what is a deep cloning and shallow cloning?
Okay, so cloning is a process of creating a same object. Okay, and this can be implemented by using implementing the clonable interface.
Mm-hmm.
So cloning. So let me give you an example. So suppose we have a two class, person and address. Hello.
Okay. Yes, yes, I can hear
Yes.
you.
Yes. So person has a address. Okay, address object. Now, if we have created a cloned object of person, and if we are making any changes in the address object of the cloned object, so we will able to see like in both the original and the cloned object, the values has been modified. So this is shallow cloning. And if we have to go for the deep cloning, so what we will do, we have to create a cloned copy of the internal classes also, or the classes that we are using inside the main class.
Okay.
The reference classes basically, or reference objects, I can say.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So are you aware about the singleton? What is singleton?
A singleton pattern is basically is used to create a single instance, and then that single instance will be returned whenever we will be requesting for an instance of the class. But that instance will be returned only.
Okay. So singleton means there will be only one instance of a class will be there. Okay.
Correct.
So any real-time example?
Not sure about real time, but yes, I know how to. We have to implement our own singleton class. So how we can create it, I know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So as we are on this portal, so how many object would be there if there is any singleton instance? So as you are the another user, I'm the another user. So how many instance would be there?
So I think for my case, it should be a single instance,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and for your case also, it should be a single instance.
Mm-hmm. So you mean there would be two singleton instance for a different user?
Basically, singleton means a single instance will be created for each class. So if I am considering myself as a class, so a single instance will be there for my case, and if you are also a different class, so a single instance will be there for your part.
So you wanted to say if you are a single user, so there will be the one instance throughout the application for you, and if I'm the another user, so there will be the another instance for you, right?
Correct.
So that is not the case basically. There will be only one instance, And if you take an example of a logger or a database connection object, so only one instance throughout the application will be available.
Yeah, data, yes, correct. For logger and database connection, so if you see for that particular class, a single instance has been there, correct? If I am trying to add another database connection, so that connection will not be used to connect to the another database. So we have to provide a connection to another database.
Okay,
I
okay.
got your point. Like if we have a single database, so for that single database, we have provided a single class to access those. But if I'm trying to add another thing, another database connection, so we have to create another class another singleton class. So who will be accessing those properties or accessing those database?
Okay, okay. So
Can you
what
give
is
me
a
a second?
concurrent hash map?
Sorry, can you give me a second? Actually, I'm getting a call, repetitive call. Just
Sure,
need to
sure.
pick up. Is it fine for you? I
No
think.
problem, take up.
No, sure. Please go ahead. I had
I was
decided.
asking what is the concurrent hash map?
So actually, concurrent hash map is a thread strip version of your hash map, basically. So multiple threads can simultaneously work on the concurrent hash map. And there is one more feature in concurrent hash map. So at a single point of time, 16 threads can iterate over the hash map. And suppose if one of the thread is either updating the value, either modifying, basically adding or updating any value. So in that case, that particular segment will get logged, or that particular bucket will get logged. That is known as segment locking. So the whole hash map will not be get logged. So the other threads will simultaneously able to read or update the other buckets in the hash map.
Okay. So need to remove
Okay,
the duplicate from the array.
and then I'm aware about lambda expression, method references, optional classes, new methods added in interface, filters, streams, all about.
Okay. So what do you understand by the default method in function interface?
So basically, default method has been introduced in the interface to provide the backward compatibility. So let me give an example. So suppose we have an interface sayable, and there are 10 different classes which is implementing this interface. Okay, now suppose if the current requirement is like we have to provide a new functionality, and that will be present in only 2 or 3 classes. So if we add any abstract method in interface, so all these 10 classes we need to implement this method, correct?
Okay.
So now by using the default method, so we can provide the implementation in that method itself only, and then we can override that method or provide the call that method in the 2 or 3 implementing classes where we want to use.
Okay.
So we don't have to modify each and every implementing class.
Okay. Okay. So what is a blocking queue? Okay. Have you heard about the completable future?
Yes, this completable future, yes, this has been introduced in Java 8. Correct.
What is a you have any idea on that?
So basically, completable future, it will not block the response. So suppose we have made 3 different requests, and so it will wait for the response from that particular object. Until that time, he can assume any default value and will do on the processing, and once the value will be available from the object, so it will map it to the completable future object.
Okay. Any idea about the meta space?
Metaspace, yes. Yes, so this metaspace has been also introduced in Java 8 only, and I think this the metaspace has replaced young generation space from the memory.
Okay, no problem. So now we'll move on to the Spring side. So, why Spring is so popular? What is the advantage of using a Spring framework?
So, the basically, Spring, if the Spring has been introduced, it just introduced to provide the dependency injection or even inversion of control pattern. So earlier, if we have a class and if we have to use 4 to 5 classes, so this is the responsibility of the main class to instantiate and create an object of all these dependent classes. But now we are giving this dependency to another framework to create to create the instantiation of the classes and manage its dependencies. And now with the Spring, so there are a lot of features that has been added or upgraded basically.
Okay, okay. So, in the Spring, what is a qualifier?
So a qualifier is used to auto wire the auto wiring by name.
So, what
So
is the
basically
default one for the auto wiring? What is the
by
default one?
type,
By
by
type.
type,
Okay, so it
by
is
type.
okay.
Yes.
Uh,
So basically qualifier will be used. So whenever we will be getting an exception, required one bean but found two beans. So at that time, it's because the Spring Boot or the Spring has found the two uh, objects of the same type. So it will not able to identify like which object has to be auto wired. So in that case, we have to define like the object has to be auto wired by name instead of by type. So in that case, we will be using @ qualifier.
okay. So, how do you handle the exception in Spring?
So we can create a common class, and then that common class will be extending the response entity exception handler class. And on the top of the class, we can use @controller advice, so that it will be able to identify like whenever any exception occurs or comes into this application. So this will be the main class to handle all the exceptions basically. And then in the class, we can provide the methods, and on the top of the method we can use @exception handler, and we can provide the name of the exception uh, that we want to catch or handle, so that this method will be get executed whenever this exception will be get occurs. And we can put the list of exceptions as well in @exception handler.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, what is the difference between REST controller and controller annotation?
So REST controller is a combination of two annotation, @controller plus @response body. So earlier whenever we was using @controller, so we have to use @response body on the each method. Now so basically now REST controller has replaced this both annotations with a single annotation. So we don't have to write @response body on the each of the method.
Okay. So now we'll move on to the microservices. So, what are the design patterns you are aware about in microservices?
We have mostly used Spring MVC, database per service, and then chain of responsibility pattern
Mm-hmm.
and a circuit breaker pattern. I'm aware about this.
Okay. Okay. So, what is a two-phase commit?
Two-phase.
Commit.
Can you a little bit elaborate so that
So
I
that
can be
is
able
used
to
for the distributed transaction. So this approach is used for the distributed transaction. So
okay, not aware, not sure because we haven't implemented the transactions that much frequently in the services.
okay. And what about the Saga design principle?
Saga is also
No problem.
Saga is
So how are you guys aggregating the logs from the different services?
so so actually if we go with the older implementation of the microservices, so we are using the Splunk, not a Splunk, sorry, logger factory.
Mhm.
Or
So that is with the
logs.
individual service, right? But you have to, when you have to aggregate the logs, so you must be using some Splunk, Zipkin, anything.
Yes, if we go for the internal implementation, so we are using Splunk. But
Mm-hmm.
now Microservice has introduced Sleuth with Zipkin to
Mm-hmm.
aggregate the logs. So basically, Zipkin will be a server which will be holding all your logs, and it will be having a common trace ID. So that
Mm-hmm.
will be common for the single request, and there will be a different span ID for each microservice.
Okay. Have you worked on the Docker?
Docker Kubernetes, so actually DevOps team used to take care of it. But yes,
Mm-hmm.
we used to, the pipeline or is there already, so we have to just deploy we have to manually deploy the applications to the
Okay.
cloud.
So for the repository management, or I can say the version control tool, that is a SVN or Git. So what is the difference between
Git.
SVN and Git?
I'm not sure about Asgen, but we have used Git only, and we have used Bitbucket and GitHub as the repository,
Okay.
and we
So how
uses the
do
Git.
you resolve the conflict in your repository?
So the conflict will be occur when we are trying to commit to a particular branch, and someone has already pushed to that particular branch, and we haven't taken the pull from that branch. In that case, the this merge conflict will occur because we have tried to commit the code, and the latest code was not present in our branch. So
Mm-hmm.
I usually try to resolve the merge conflict from the ID only. So in the ID, I used to configure the Git, and in the Git, whenever I will be configuring Git, so I will be getting any extra Git commands. So in that Git, I can merge that conflict. So on the left side, it will be the local, and then on the right side, it will be the remote repository data, code. So after that, I can try to fetch the data from both respective local repository and remote repository.
Okay.